Well, good afternoon, Harrisburg. It's great to be here with you this afternoon. Um, it's an honor to be here. I haven't been to Harrisburg. I haven't been to Pennsylvania in a while. I'm going to make this a frequent stop, and it's good to be with you here. I always tell my audiences, especially when we're traveling on the road like this, and I do this quite honestly. I do this. I when scheduling allows, I try to fly in with the congressional delegation from that state, and we sit in the conference room of Air Force One and have a discussion about what's happening in our city, what's happening in the city, what's happening in the community. Um, this morning, however, it was a very short flight from Andrews over to Harrisburg, so there wasn't a whole lot we could get discuss during that very short period of time before we were wheels down at the airport. So we made our way over to Millworks and had lunch and talked about the issues. And I want to tell you, being from Texas, I love your brisket pizza over there at Millworks. Great job over there. And I do want to thank our distinguished governor, Josh Shapiro. Thank you very much for your warm introduction and welcome. And the congressional delegation from Pennsylvania. On the Democratic side, yes, Summer Lee and Chrissy Houlihan. Thank you very much for coming along today and having a chance to talk to you about our administration's plans for the future and particularly infrastructure. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about today. But really, as we gather here today to reflect on the trials and triumphs of the past 3 years, I stand before you not only as your leader, but as a fellow citizen, sharing a vision to renew the spirit of our great nation. We have faced unprecedented challenges from the relentless grip of unprecedented pandemic to the growing polarization. Yet, through it all, we've demonstrated a resilience that defines the American spirit. In the course of the past 3 years, our collective efforts have borne fruit, witnessing a remarkable reduction in unemployment from an alarming 15% to now an impressive almost 3.5%. Now, think about that. Think about where we were almost 4 years ago at this time. We were on the brink of a once in a lifetime pandemic. Our unemployment rate was 3.4, 3.5, something along those lines. But soon it was going to skyrocket to 15%. Soon we were going to be locked in our homes. Soon millions of people were going to be without work. And it's an honor to stand in front of you here this afternoon and tell you that economically we're making tremendous progress. Now, I know people may disagree with that statement, and they'll say, we're not making tremendous progress. Economically, we are. Our growth is above 3%. Unemployment is not as high as it was 4 years ago. The job availability in our country, we're looking at 1.6 jobs available per every person in this room. Think about that. 1.6 jobs available for every person. 4 years ago, we weren't at that point. So tonight, I want to share with you my my commitment on a few plans. Now, this campaign's been going along. We've been through a caucus and a few primaries so far as we're heading to the conventions and heading to the fall reelection campaign. And there's been a whole lot of bickering out on the trail and not a whole lot of talk about agendas. All we're talking about is about how we want to be a dictator on day one, how we want to use the Department of Justice for our own political purposes. Let me make this commitment here to you tonight. On day one, I will not be a dictator. On day one, I will be a president. And I will never use the Department of Justice for my own personal vendetta machine. That's not what we do. That's not what you do in Washington. But, one of the things we're going to do, and I'm going to talk about the agenda here today. One of the things that we're going to do is overhaul the unemployment system. It will no longer be susceptible to exploitation. Our new enhanced unemployment system will mandate a minimum of 5 job interviews per week for continuing benefits, ensuring that every able-bodied American is presented with ample opportunities for gainful employment. Now, let me be clear about that here this afternoon. When I'm talking about able-bodied, I'm excluding our seniors and stay-at-home parents. Who I am addressing, however, are those who, despite the easing of the pandemic, and actually it's almost gone from the radar, it's almost down like the flu, they have chosen unemployment and have not returned to work. This status quo needs to change, and under my leadership, it will. It's ridiculous that a person in this country able to hold a job is collecting unemployment benefits. 4 years ago, there was a reason for that. 4 years later, there is not. I get people are on disability. I understand those reasons. But when you're perfectly able to hold a job in this country and you're collecting unemployment benefits, we're grifting the system. And under my administration, that will stop. On the topic of infrastructure, this initiative is not merely about fixing things. It's a deliberate effort to strengthen and modernize critical elements such as roads and bridges. And Summer and Chrissy and I talked about that today, especially about the infrastructure in our system or in our area here. Excuse me. The Department of Interior has announced and awarded an initial $560 million to 24 states to begin work to plug, cap, and reclaim orphan oil and gas wells. Millions of Americans across the country live within a mile of an orphan well and gas well, especially up here. Eligible states have indicated they are over 10,000 high priority well sites across the country, ready for immediate remediation efforts, with many more lined up for future action. Now, it's not just oil sites. That's one of the key things we want to do. But in your state here in Pennsylvania, we want to work on the infrastructure. We want to work on the bridges. We want to work on the roads. And if you've heard me talk about my hometown back in Texas, just south of Dallas. We're in the midst of an infrastructure program ourselves. It's called the Master Plan. Each city, at least in our state, is mandated to have a master plan. Part of its master plan is a complete redoing infrastructure of one of the main roads in our city. So we can do the same throughout this country. You think about the interstate highway system in our country. Does anybody here know when that was first put in? Anybody? It was actually put in place by President Eisenhower, and the reason it was built to make access to make access for our military tanks and supplies to get cross country in an emergency. But it also serves as a major infrastructure system for our country. It needs to be taken care of. Just not too far from my home in Texas, there is a bridge that is part of what's going on with the infrastructure plan being redone. And one side of the bridge has been closed because they're working on one side of it and they got the other side closed, and it's two lanes it's both two lanes on the bridge when it's supposed to be a four lane bridge, if you get what I'm trying to say there. But on the side that you travel on, there are cracks in that bridge, and there are divots in the road. And that's just one bridge in Texas. Imagine all across this country. We're going to focus on infrastructure, and we're going to commit to get our roads and get our bridges back in order, get our railroad tracks back in order. Like I said, the orphan oil rigs are old drilling sites around our country. We'll get those taken care of as well. Our commitment to improving infrastructure goes beyond immediate repairs. This initiative is a strategic, forward-looking endeavor aimed at enhancing the very foundation of our nation. We recognize that our roads, bridges, and other essential structures form the backbone of our society, and it does. facilitating economic activities and connectivity and the overall well-being of our citizens. This improvement plan involves a meticulous assessment of current infrastructure conditions, identifying areas that require not only repairs, but comprehensive upgrades, such as the bridges in your state and the roads and bridges back down in my state. We are focused on deploying advanced engineering solutions to ensure that our infrastructure not only meets existing standards, but anticipates and adapts to the evolving needs of our dynamic society. From the development of smarter transportation networks to incorporating innovative materials and construction methodologies, our aim is to create infrastructure that is not only durable, but also efficient. We envision a future where our citizens experience smoother commutes, safer travels, and a robust infrastructure network that facilitates economic growth and societal progress. And think about that. You build these fantastic roads, and I'm sure in Harrisburg and in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of these examples. But back home, we're preparing for our city's future. They have a master plan for this road that's going to involve development of businesses, development of restaurants, hotels. It can change a city. Infrastructure can change a community. And along with that comes community development and job creation. Central to our strategy is recognizing the profound impact of our communities. It's not just about construction, it's about creating opportunities by investing in those improvements. We're stimulating local economies and generating jobs and breathing new life into neighborhoods, ensuring prosperity reaches every corner of our nation. Now we go down to the environmental responsibility. A cornerstone of this initiative is our commitment to environmental stewardship. We are incorporating advanced technologies to make our infrastructure more eco-friendly, including significant investments in renewable energy projects such as solar and wind. But bottom line, all of what I'm talking to you about here today comes down to what happens back in Washington and the bipartisanship that it takes to get this passed through Congress. We just this week saw a border security bill just die in the House because we couldn't agree to it. Now, granted, there were some things that I personally did not like about the bill, but I was open to discussion on it and some other ways to go about making this bill work and not just killing it. It seems like all we seem to do lately in Washington is just punt to football. I guess if any of these NFL teams need a new punter going into next season, they need to look to Congress. You know, we need to have a bipartisanship and legislative support, recognizing the need for collaboration. We emphasize bipartisanship, and we call on Congress to unite and pass comprehensive legislation that not only addresses immediate needs, but sets the foundation for us for sustained long-term development. And one of those bipartisan efforts I'm going to make this weekend is something that I've been doing for the past 3 years. I'm inviting a congressional delegation to the White House, and we're going to watch Super Bowl. There is no better place to get business done than an informal environment, watching America's game, right? But getting a bipartisan group of congressmen together and try to work out our differences. And also, it's resilience in adverse conditions, understanding the unpredictability of the future. That's easy for me to say. Our plan prioritizes resilience, strengthens our infrastructure, ensures a quicker recovery in times of crisis, and underscores our nation's ability to rebound from unforeseen challenges. You know, looking forward in this forward vision for global competitiveness, beyond immediate concerns, the plan charts a course for the future. Strategic investments are intended to position the United States as a global leader, not just economically, but in terms of technological innovation. Think about that. Our friend, just across the sea, we got China that develops a huge amount of technology. Why can't the United States do that as well? And under my administration, we will be doing that. You know, this this initiative transcends political affiliations, is a collective effort reflecting the enduring spirit of our nation. You know, and we're going to discuss this plan a lot. I want us to remember that it's an opportunity for our country to work together, irrespective of differences, for the collective betterment of all. And I hope that Congress just heard that. They need to hear that. We need to put down our differences, quit the name calling. This name calling reminds me of first graders. We're not first graders. The people sent us to Washington. The people in Pennsylvania sent Summer and Chrissy to the nation's capital to do the people's jobs. It's time for us to do the jobs. You know, shifting our focus to the high cost of prescription drugs. This issue transcends mere policy. It is a moral imperative. It is unjust for individuals to bear the burden of paying hundreds of dollars for medications when big farmers over here reaping in immense profits. Think about it. I've got a good friend of mine, educator back home in Texas. As we know, I talk a lot about education, doesn't get paid a whole lot. And she has a prescription for medication that she needs, not wants, she needs, and she paid $700 for that prescription. How is that fair? Not just only on a teacher's salary, but anybody's salary. I don't care who you are. Why is it $700? Why is that fair when big pharma's over here making billions in profits? Now let's turn our attention to the transformative potential of electric vehicles. You know, we're at the very beginning of a significant shift towards EVs. We must acknowledge the importance of infrastructure readiness. This transition involves a comprehensive overhaul from charging stations to power grids. Rushing without proper preparation is like setting sail without a navigational map, risking challenges that could hinder the adoption process and lead to unintended consequences. Our journey towards a sustainable future requires careful planning and strategic execution. Let us not be hasty in our pursuit, but rather deliberate in assuring that our infrastructure is ready to support the electric revolution. By doing so, we pave the way for a smoother, more efficient transition that benefits not only us, but generations to come. And I've talked about this too, and I'm going to make this commitment here today. Many candidates have said that they set out this agenda 20, 30 years to transition to EVs. I will make this commitment here today. We will transition to EVs when this nation's infrastructure is set and when we're set to do it, not a day before. Shifting our focus to the borders, the focus of the issue to the borders, let me affirm that the United States welcomes people, but it must occur through proper channels, not through unauthorized crossings. We will diligently reestablish border control to ensure order and security. And I will sign on my desk a bill that supports that and that alone. The fentanyl crisis unfolding within our nation, it's tied to border security, demands our urgent attention. This synthetic opioid, known for its formidable potency, has become a central figure in the ever expanding narrative of the opioid epidemic. The crisis requires a holistic approach, from intensifying law enforcement efforts to dismantling illicit drug networks, to enhancing addiction treatment, accessibility within our healthcare systems. Addressing the fentanyl crisis mandates collaboration across various sectors, from government agencies and healthcare professionals to community organizations, through a united and multifaceted approach. We can strive to stem the tide of this devastating epidemic, safeguarding communities and fostering a healthier, more resilient society. We can. but the border security and fentanyl work hand in hand. Think about this figure that's out. Every day that we don't pass an effective border control bill in Congress, there is enough fentanyl that comes to the United States to kill every single American. Think about that. We have to stop that. We have to get control of that, and that starts today. There are so many hot spots going on in our country, and we have people campaigning, and yet they haven't really talked about the Middle East and what they would do. It has been marred by decades of conflict, and the Israeli Palestine issue remains at the heart of this turmoil. I firmly believe that a just and equitable solution lies in the establishment of two independent states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security. Supporting a two-state solution does not mean taking sides. Rather, it's an endorsement of a just and comprehensive resolution that accommodates the rights, security, and dignity of both Israelis and Palestinians. It's a call for dialogue, as it has been for a long time, for diplomacy and a commitment to finding common ground for the betterment of all involved. And as long as I've been around, and it's almost 60 years, the Middle East has been a central hotspot. You think about the 1967 war, and that's shortly after I was born. There was the Camp David Accords. There's been efforts by former presidents. It's something that we need to stop. But I really think that the way to solve it is a two-state solution. Israel and Palestine can coexist. And I think about what happened back in October, and to me, it's heartbreaking. On that early Saturday morning, I remember exactly where I was. I was on a campaign trip up in Iowa, up in Des Moines, and actually hearing the news of that happening, just innocent girls and women being raped, and families being drug out of their homes and being killed for no reason at all on a Saturday morning. No reason. Hostages still over 100 days in captivity. We have to get our hostages free. And my administration is making every effort every day to see that we get the safe return of every hostage, not just American, but every hostage in captivity. I believe in the sanctity of life, and I recognize the profound value of every individual. At the same time, I firmly believe in a woman's right to make choices about her own body and reproductive health. The issue of abortion rights is multifaceted, involving personal beliefs, ethical consideration, and legal frameworks. Supporting a woman's right to choose does not diminish the recognition of the inherent value of life. Rather, it acknowledges the complexities of individual circumstances and the autonomy that women deserve in making deeply personal decisions. As a society, we must strive to create an environment where women have access to comprehensive reproductive health care, education, and support. And let me clarify by what I just said. I know there may be a little confusion about that statement. Deep down in my heart, I believe that taking one's life is wrong. My religion tells me that, and I firmly believe that. But I also believe we live in a country where we have the right to choose. We live in a country where government should not be mandating what decisions a woman should make about her health care. That should be between the doctor and the woman, and anybody for that matter. It should not be government's job to mandate what kind of health care you get. Education reform, I've talked a lot about that. That stands as a pivotal cornerstone of our nation's restoration. Our classrooms should be sanctuaries of learning, not political battlegrounds. My education plan is called Back to Basics, aims to support teachers, provide quality education, and prepare students for the future by depoliticizing the classroom. Our Back to Basics plan focuses on supporting teachers. We aim to raise teacher salaries significantly by allocating a surplus of $1.95 trillion to education. And that's if we go back to the 2019 spending levels. In Pennsylvania, this would roughly mean an increase of $496,000 per teacher in districts with an average of 300 teachers. And I know that maybe that figure will be different based on your size of your state and population. For new teachers, we've got a great deal for you as well. We promise to fully fund teacher certification if you dedicate 1 year to the classroom. This not only encourages new educators to join us, but also shows our commitment to supporting them from the start. Now, you're going to say, you know, many states, many districts pay for teachers for certification. That's right. But it comes out of the district, it comes out of the state. What I want to do is I want to fund those increases. Now, you're going to say that's another Washington power grab, and it's not. Our teachers put in a tremendous amount of work, and it's time for them to get paid for that tremendous amount of work. You think about people who get in teaching, and I've seen this for a long time. They're lured in by the summer break. They're lured in by the allure of a 7:15 to 3:45 p.m. job. I hate to tell you that, that's not the case. Teachers put in on the average of 80 hours a week at work. That doesn't include the nights that they're grading papers. That doesn't include the nights that they're doing report cards. It doesn't include the nights they're attending PTA meetings. It doesn't include the nights they're at parent-teacher conference. So you think about it, they should be paid for the job they do. And by doing this, we're prioritizing and honoring our educators, believing that a strong education system begins with valuing and investing in our teachers. Restoring patriotism and reinforcing fundamentals like history and ABCs is not just a campaign slogan. It is an imperative. We reject the divisive influences of woke education. The plan that I've been talking about is not merely just a policy agenda. I'm not just sitting here talking and just saying, hey, this is a great deal. It's the opening chapter in our journey to restore the greatness of the United States. And we can get there. All these things I've talked about here today are feasible. Now, some of you may think that price tag that I just quoted to you of teacher pay increases into the trillions when we have other issues in our country that needs attention too is wrong. But I want you to think about this before I wrap up. We're just about done. Think about the students in today's classrooms. And as I visit schools throughout our country, I go in these classrooms and I look at the students sitting in those desks. And I'm thinking, in these schools are the future of our nation. We have future astronauts, future engineers, future scientists, future rock stars, future programmers. But those dreams begin in our classrooms. Our teachers start those dreams. I was talking to a student earlier today, wants to be a YouTube influencer. And while that's a great goal, there's nothing at all that should diminish him from achieving that goal. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely, it will be hard. But given the right education, he can achieve that goal. This is a bold plan. And I know you're going to tell me that. And I understand it is a bold plan. But there's nothing in this country that we can accomplish if we work together. If we quit the bickering, if we quit the name calling, and we sit down and discuss their issues, the limits that we can do in the United States are endless. They're endless. Everything we do as a country, we work together, is possible. May God bless you, each and every one of you. May God bless our troops, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.